I want to show you the faces of the initial finalists right here. Eli Reyes with the Austin Police Department. He's their assistant chief. Cameron McLay, he's the former police chief of the Pittsburgh Department, and Eddie Frizzell. But over the weekend, Cameron McLay from Pittsburgh, he's now living in Wisconsin. He withdrew from this search, which meant that the mayor could then appoint one more finalist. And that finalist that joined is Carmen Best, the interim police chief. She's back in the running for the permanent job. Here's the thing. When Carmen Best left, when she was initially left off that list of finalists, several community members, other organizations, they were angry. She's well liked. She's respected by the officers. They could not figure out why she was left off.
I mean, I look at it, Seattle is a progressive, racist town.
What essentially happened was systemic racism. The black woman was X'd out.
So the question is, what changed? Initially, 62 people from across the country applied for the job. A search committee narrowed that to 5, and after a competitive exam, the exam assessors forwarded the mayor 3 finalists, and Best was not among them. The city charter only allows the mayor to consider 3 finalists after the competitive exam, but because McLay withdrew, the mayor can add one more, and that person is Carmen Best. In recent weeks, the mayor of the search committee go visit all of the cities of the final candidates. She'll be briefed on those visits today. Also beginning today, all 3 finalists will be in town interviewing with the mayor and others. One important thing to note, at this point, the final decision on the next chief will be solely made by Jenny Durkin. Her team tells me she'll listen to the advice of all the people involved, but at the end of the day, it is her decision only. We expect some news on this by the end of the month.
Some real politicking going on behind the scenes. You had the head tax that went sort of left and then right, and now this has not really gone A and then B and then C, has it?
Yeah, and you know, this is interesting to try to figure out what really happened here. Cameron McLay, he withdrew, as we mentioned, over the weekend, but now there's talk that he's going to be involved with the city on police reform in some capacity, whether that be joining the mayor's cabinet, whether that be officially joining the police department in some role. We don't expect Cameron McLay's going away, so there's speculation right now that bringing Carmen Best back in maybe will elevate her to that permanent role. Cameron McLay comes in as an advisor in some capacity.
We'll hear from the mayor today.
We're going to hear from the mayor today.
What happened?
Yeah, this afternoon we expect to hear from the mayor, so it'll be interesting to see what she says.